Welcome back to the Price of Business. I'm your host, Kevin Price. Talking to Steve Beaman with the Society for the Advancement of Financial Education. If you ain't got it, you ain't got much these days. Over 80% of Americans consider themselves overextended. 75% do not consider themselves financially literate. People need the tools to be able to make a difference, and that's what we're trying to promote here in the Society for the Advancement of Financial Education. I'm loving heading up the efforts here in the Houston and really the state of Texas area. We just brought on a new guy who's helping me with developing groups all over the state. Jeremy Kitchen, who is with the Young Conservatives of Texas. That's how I found him. I'm an alum of Young Conservatives of Texas. He was the last position he had. He was vice chair in charge of the development of chapters. The perfect guy to help us in what we're doing, and so we're excited. What other news stories, Steve Beaman, did caught your attention this past week?
Well, Kevin, the biggest thing I saw is that the Federal Reserve has talked about unwinding its quantitative easing program, where it's been buying about $85 billion a month in federal treasuries. So clearly the concern is that to the extent the Federal Reserve discontinues that buying program, what will that do to interest rates? Now, much to my surprise, the market didn't react negatively to that news, but held its own above the 15,000 mark on the Dow. So that was big news, as well as we saw consumer sentiment actually rise. So for the people with their 401ks, that's good news, but they need to have heightened awareness of this federal program to make sure that interest rates aren't going to move up, which would be demonstrably negative to the U.S. stock market.
Yeah, no question about it. And how do you explain it? You know, to me, it seems like there's not a whole lot of basis of reality for why the market is acting the way it's acting. I'm chagrined by it.
Well, there are two big things driving the market right now. First, we have to recognize that American business is very good at becoming efficient in tough times. And post the 2008-2009 meltdown, American companies significantly reduced debt, they reduced cost, and as a result, their profits have gone up very nicely. So that's supporting a higher Dow. In addition to that, when you have interest rates at or near zero, it's really hard to find a place to put your money that makes you anything on it. So it's forcing a lot of people into the market that might not otherwise be there. So those two things, when they come together, create new highs for the Dow.
Okay. You got more people playing, so that's automatically going to pull things up a little bit.
That's exactly right. And so obviously the future that we look for is one of continued slow growth, but to the extent companies continue to increase productivity and reduce cost, they will continue to have profits increasing, all the while we see unemployment stay at unsustainably high levels.
Yep, absolutely. Again, talking to Steve Beaman, he is with that group called the Society for the Advancement of Financial Education, which I'm delighted to be involved in as well. Of these scandals, would you actually see any traction happening that might lead to it affecting the president directly?
Oh, Kevin, you've asked me the most loaded question in history, and I think I'd have to say my personal opinion is no. I think when push comes to shove, these three things, as heinous they are to the American people, they're going to end up coming to nothing. They will hurt some percentage points in the favorability ratings. I do think the biggest effect will be that in the next election cycle, it will re-energize people in the conservative side of the political spectrum to come out much, much more than they did in the last go-around. So I think it will affect the next election, but no, I don't think it will hit the White House nearly as hard as some people would want it to, or others think it might.
I was really doubtful that the Republicans had even a shot when it came to the U.S. Senate, even though they have a 2-to-1 advantage in terms of number of people that are up for re-election. And I really kind of thought that they were vulnerable to losing the House, and I think Obama thought that too, which is why he has been kind of cautious. We thought an unleashed lame duck Obama would have gone bonkers, but I think he had showed some caution in order to foster his chances of winning back the House in 2014. I really believe there's a chance the Republicans take both houses.
I think it's certainly an expanded chance. These scandals are real, especially the one with respect to the Internal Revenue Service. That hits Americans right at their heart. When they see that agency being used for political purposes, regardless of your conservative or liberal nature, that really is offensive. So I think that's going to stay in people's minds. It will certainly be exploited by the next round of candidates, and it will, I think, be material in that next congressional election.
Certainly an eloquent argument, if there ever was one, to reconsider a fair tax or a tax purely on purchases rather than on income, which, in the original Constitution, it was explicitly prohibited in Article 1, Section 8, that they would be allowed to tax income.
Well, Kevin, there's no question I have been a vocal proponent of a flat tax. I think it's an efficient way to generate money for the government that's necessary, and I think it levels the playing field for all Americans and eliminates a lot of the shenanigans that go on. It would generate economic growth in our country. And again, this will lead to those types of discussions as the year goes forward.
Okay, you said flat tax. I said fair tax. Do you like the idea of eliminating income tax entirely? Because let's face it, this kind of scrutiny would still be there even with a flat tax. It would completely change the way so-called tax-exempt organizations' existence. They may not even exist with a so-called fair tax. Well, that's not even true. They would exist, but it wouldn't have quite the same economic impact, obviously.
Economically, I would be willing to support a fair tax concept. I'm a little bit politically nervous about it. I don't like giving the government a hidden tax, and that's what that is. What it would lead to is inflation in product prices. It is a regressive tax because of that. So I think there's a lot of discussion, but either one of those would be a solution to the kind of corrupt system we have today.
Yeah, I don't understand this concept of taxing wealth creation at all. And the idea of progressively taxing wealth creation is the idea of actually deterring people from creating more wealth. And every job, every business.
For example, this argument people have that, capital gains are taxed at a lower rate. They forget that those people have already paid income taxes on that money. So we're looking at a composite rate in the 60-70% range.
Yeah, touche. That's exactly true. People don't understand that, not to mention the fact that the use of that capital is a much riskier sum than what you gaining income from your guaranteed income that you have from your job as long as you're working that job.
Well, and Kevin, it comes right back to the reason that SAFE exists. It's because we want everyone listening to become a capitalist. We'd like to show them how to be involved in making their capital make them money, so they can enjoy those 20% tax rates rather than complaining that others do.
Yep. Absolutely important, imperative, in fact. Talking to, once again, Steve Beaman. He is with the Society for the Advancement of Financial Education. I'd like you to contact me personally if you're here in Texas. I've been getting more and more feedback of individuals wanting to get involved, want to learn more. Now you're going to have the opportunity of meeting Steve here in the next couple of months. Contact me at info@usdailyreview.com. That's info@usdailyreview.com. Put in there, just put in the word financial education. I'll know exactly what you're talking about. Words, put in financial education, those words, and we'll get back in touch with you. Also, check out stevebeamangroup.org. Steve, as always, great job.
Well, Kevin, I'm always glad to be with you, and it's nice to start off the week on the right foot. Again, you and I both believe in the American people. We believe in the American Republic. We believe in the American economy, and together we can make this thing sing once again.
All right, my friend. Thanks very much. When we come back, much more for you. I do want to remind you, best content here. It shows up over there, like the articles we get from our friend Steve Beaman each week at usdailyreview.com.